Hey, what is up, YouTube? Welcome back to another show. Thank you. Relax, maybe kick back a little bit, hang out with the family, or just enjoy some good OTV. Great movies, shows out there. Guys, fact sheet that President Biden cuts taxes for working families and makes big corporations and wealthy pay their fair share. Now, there's a lot of things and discussions, debates that were talked about, and we're going to get into a lot of news with stimulus checks, Social Security, Medicare. We're going to be talking about the debate that is actually coming up very, very soon, and some other things that we're going to keep you up on trending news that literally just come out. There's a lot of people that have been looking for some updated news, and we've got that right here in this video just for you. Jack, what is going on, my friend? Thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, we've got a ton of information for you, and we want to show you guys a lot of what's happening and kind of show some big debates that are going on right now. You know, there's a lot of things that are being debated, a lot of things that are being talked about, and also RFK Jr. RFK Jr. says he needs to be in the debate. And people are agreeing. People are saying he needs to be in there. And he says he needs to be in there. So we're going to figure out kind of what's going on. RFK Jr. says he should be in debate. And again, let us know your thoughts, guys, and opinion on that. We've got a ton of information here, but we want to get right into it. We've got stimulus check news for you guys, Social Security, Medicare. We've got a ton of things to talk about. Harmon, British, Darlene, what is going on? Good Sunday evening. I told you guys that we would be coming on a lot sooner. It is only 8:17 Central Time. I know we're always doing those late 10 o'clock videos, typically just because the kiddos are already asleep. We've already spent the time with them, and then we're in here digging, researching, getting all that news prepared for you guys. There's a lot of great things we're going to be talking about because, guys, you know, it's not a five-way race, but there's a lot of different discussions going on out there that RFK says I qualify for the debates, guys. And that is something that we're going to be talking about, as well as stimulus checks, Social Security, Medicare. But, guys, check this out. Let me know your thoughts. Here we go.
This poll shows Trump leading Biden by 3 points, with independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in third place, 11%. Even with the showing, Biden is refusing to allow Kennedy on the debate stage, or he's also refusing to give him any Secret Service protection that is provided to major presidential candidates. All of this time, Kennedy has not been offered such a service. This, despite the tragic history of the Kennedy family that saw the assassination of both his father, Robert F. Kennedy, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy. Joining me right now in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the man himself, presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Mr. Kennedy, thanks very much for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
So your reaction to you not being offered this position, have you heard from the campaigns or from CNN or ABC to ask your plausibility of being on that debate stage?
We are in discussions with CNN. CNN published a list of criteria for candidates getting in the debate, and we have shown CNN that we meet all of those criteria, and that President Trump and President Biden cannot meet those criteria. The key, one of the two sort of key criterion is that every candidate has to be on the ballots in enough states to get 270 electoral votes by June 20th. And we will qualify for that. President Trump and President Biden cannot qualify for that because they don't have any electoral votes at this time. They are presumptive nominees for their party, but they themselves are not on the ballot. I will be the only one on the ballot. The other criterion is 4 polls that have me at 15% national polls, and they listed the polling firms that they would take those polls from, and we've given them 5 national polls that show me, including the CNN poll, the most recent CNN poll that has me at 15%. The Harvard-Harris poll, the Monmouth poll, the Quinnipiac poll, that all have me at 15% or more. So I qualify for the debates. They have now made a public offer. We consider that a contract, and we're in discussion with CNN now.
So why do you have this sure assurance that you think you'll be eligible for the 270 electoral votes by June 20th? Do you think you'll get those votes by June 20th?
Yeah, we'll be on the ballot. We already have. We have enough signatures today for 201 electoral votes. By the end of the month, we'll be at 340.
Wow,
okay.
That is crazy.
Why do you think they're keeping you off the debate stage then, sir?
I think they don't want to talk about the issues that neither President Trump or President Biden are comfortable talking about. These two presidents ran up the biggest deficit in history. That's now driving the inflationary cycle in this country. President Trump, in 4 short years, ran up $8 trillion in debt. It's more debt, more money spent than every president combined from George Washington to George W. Bush. And President Biden is rushing to keep up with them. The two of them shut down our country, shut down 3.3 million businesses with no due process, no just compensation, no scientific citation. They're the ones who are feeding the toxic polarization that is tearing our country apart. Both of these candidates say that they want to end the polarization, but they have no way to do that. They're actually feeding into it. They are the product of that polarization. If we're going to save our country, we need to start looking at each other as Americans again.
Yeah.
And stop hating on each other. Both of these candidates have fed this, the forever wars. President Trump said that he was going to end them, but then, he again supported last week $663 billion more to Ukraine. So all of these issues are issues that neither of them want to talk about, and I'm going to make them talk about it, and they're not going to want to do that.
Well, let's talk a little about it right now so our viewers understand clearly where you are on these issues. Number one, immigration and the wide open border. Would you move to deport the 10 million illegals that are in this country on Joe Biden's watch?
Woo! I would shut down the border overnight. And I've been to the border. Everybody there is confident. I've spoken to the Border Patrol, local law enforcement, people on both sides of the border, local hospitals and local officials, and everybody is confident that we can shut this border overnight, which is destroying our country.
Would you deport the illegals that are already here?
We would deport a lot of them. I don't know, I don't want to tear apart families. People who are in this country, have been in this country for a long time and are paying taxes. We need to look at that population. And I'm not making any policy commitments on that until the border is shut, because I don't think Americans will put up with it.
Second issue, inflation rising to 40-year highs, largely because of $7 trillion in...
Guys, that is a question I have for you. What would you do if you were president? If you close the border, which I feel a lot of you guys want to close the border. Number one, we need border safety. What would you do with the 10 million illegal immigrants that are here? What would you do? Guys, oh my gosh, that is mind-blowing. 10 million. That's like they're not here legally, came in and did it the wrong way.
Borrowing and spending of the Democrats. How would you rein in inflation?
Well, I mean, we need to stop the spending. And in order to do that, we need to wind down the war machine, which neither candidate is able to do. We need to end the chronic disease epidemic, which these two candidates have presided over, which is costing us now $4.3 trillion a year. That's 5 times our military budget. It is the single biggest cost in our entire budget. We need, and all of these things are things that neither President Trump or President Biden is even talking about doing.
Okay. President
Trump promised that he would balance the budget, and instead he ran up the biggest deficit in history. And again, President Biden's doing the same thing, and that's why we have $4 milk and $4 bread and $6 gasoline. And our houses are now unaffordable. We have a whole generation of kids that are not going to get into homes, and we need to solve that housing crisis as well.
Mr. Kennedy, let me ask you your thoughts on abortion. Do you believe a woman should have?
Okay, guys, right there. Did you know that inflation is up 19.3% under Bidenomics? This is where they had that big debate meeting with Chuck Schumer saying that Americans are tired of Bidenomics because essentially it's not really cured or helped the issue with dealing with inflation. Really, it's made things a lot worse, and people are not buying into the Inflation Reduction Act. But from RFK Jr., he doesn't really have nothing to lose. He's not leading in any polls. He's not taking the majority. So really, he's out here discussing, telling everybody, hey, this is where we're at. This is what's going on. And to this thing, to what he's saying, oh man, he's hitting a lot of things right on the head, guys.
Have the right to have an abortion even in her 9th month?
Oh my gosh.
No,
Hold on right there. That is a big question. And I'm going to ask you guys there. Should women be allowed to have an abortion 9 months into their pregnancy? And gosh, that's scary, guys, because that kid is already fully grown, fully there, and they're taking its life. And that kid, and this is what I've always thought about it. And Randy, that's murder. Well, this is what I've always seen it. That's a living human being. That is a living being. You're taking its life. That kid had no decision to be there. That was what, I don't know. Let's listen to what RFK Jr. says.
Housing crisis as well.
Mr. Kennedy, let me ask you your thoughts on abortion. Do you believe a woman should have the right to have an abortion even in her 9th month?
No, what I've said is that the government has an interest in regulating abortion when the baby reaches viability. And before that, a woman has an absolute right over bodily autonomy. And I've been fighting for bodily autonomy, for medical freedom, probably far harder than anybody in this country over the past 20 years. And at some point, when the baby, in the last couple of months, when the baby reaches viability, the government has an interest in protecting that child.
Mr. Kennedy, I want to get your take on what has taken place in terms of your battle with President Biden in terms of Secret Service protection. Have you been able to get Secret Service protection?
Guys, check this out. This was mind-blowing. This was mind-blowing.
I know that you've been asking. I've been watching your tweets and you're following you on social media. Why is President Biden refusing to allow you to have security?
I'm the first candidate, and well, candidates became eligible for Secret Service protection after my father's assassination in 1968. I'm the first presidential candidate in all of that time who has requested Secret Service protection and has not gotten it. The Secret Service themselves have made an assessment and have found that I am at elevated risk. I've had several very worrying incidences since I declared my candidacy, including a man showing up demanding to see me in my green room at a rally in Los Angeles with shoulder holsters and many other guns on him, loaded weapons.
Unbelievable.
And fake federal ID. I've made 6 applications to the White House to get Secret Service protection. President Biden is not allowing me to get it. So I think probably I can't really look into his head and speculate as to why he's made this decision. He has a bust of my dad behind him at the Oval Office. I know he probably knows what happened to my father. Oh, I think the risks are clear. I think that they probably feel that they are able to force me to pay for my own security, and that they'd rather me spend that money on security than on advertising or organization.
Look, this is outrageous, and everybody knows that you deserve security for sure. It's It's unbelievable that you're not getting it. But let me get your take on this. You heard what Greg Murphy said at the top of the show. Mr. Kennedy, do you believe that President Biden should take a drug test before the debate?
I just think that he should have to debate. I think that, I don't think it's good for democracy if we don't have presidential debates. And I think that the candidates ought to debate. They ought to debate the people, all the people who meet the criteria. And
including
the criteria.
Yourself. Yeah. And so you don't want to even touch that. You're not going to touch that in terms of a drug test.
No, I'm not going to go there, but
Okay.
I just want them on the debate stage.
Well, look, your family has been associated in politics. You've grown up in politics. What have you learned from this entire process, sir?
Well, I think, Maria, one of the reasons I got into the race was because of my feeling that we're losing touch with this vision of what America is supposed to look like, that we're supposed to be a moral authority around the world, that we're supposed to be the exemplary democracy, that people in our country ought to be living the American dream. The central promise of the American dream when I was a kid was that if you worked hard, if you paid by the rules, you could finance a home, you could take a summer vacation, you could put something aside for your retirement on one job. Yeah. There's nobody in this generation of kids who are coming up now who believe that that promise applies to them. And I want to make them feel like they can take advantage of the American dream as well. And neither of these candidates are explaining how that's going to happen.
Are you planning on doubling down on the climate change agenda in terms of environmentalism, Mr. Kennedy? I want to get your take because a lot of criticism about President Biden's climate change agenda, particularly from business. He's inserted lots of new rules about climate change and the impact there. What are your plans there, sir?
I've been critical of President Biden's climate. First of all, I believe that climate change is existential. I don't have problems with people who don't believe that. I believe that. I focus on other issues, on issues that all the things that we need to do to solve climate change, we ought to be doing anyway. I think President Biden's approach, which is an approach of very, very heavy top-down controls and of subsidies to industry for carbon capture technologies, that is a bad approach. We ought to be talking about habitat protection. We ought to be talking about reducing toxins in our environment. We ought to be talking about rebuilding our soils. We ought to be talking about protecting our children from air pollution and water pollution. This is what I've done for 40 years. I've been a champion of those issues. And if we do those issues right, the climate is going to take care of itself.
Mr. Kennedy, we'd like to keep in touch with you to negotiate.
That's the thing, guys. There's a lot of things happening. And even Biden has went as far to say, well, what's the strategy behind it? People literally understand we're in a bad situation right now. Things have to change. Several of you guys understand that if we don't get out of the predicament we're in, things will never get better. Guys, check this out.
Well, President Biden's new election strategy seems to focus less on big rallies and more on conveniently timed policy announcements.
So let's go off the wall to see just some of his last-ditch efforts to garner support. Where did we see Joe yesterday? In Atlanta, talking to Black-owned small business, small group of people. But those types of events usually are there's the precursor to it is some policy announcement trying to cater to a group.
Well, the big one that you've heard about, policy when it comes to voters, is to forgive student loans. Let's take a look at Joe's history with the student loan business. What you'll see, Pete, is in history. Joe.
That's what I've never understood. Why are they so big on trying to cancel these student loans? And when are they literally gonna fix things that actually need to get fixed?
Biden has been pushing the growth of the student loan industry for most of his career.
Since before I was even born, Joe Biden was involved in saying we need more access to student loans. Why might that be? Well, he's a senator from Delaware. What is Delaware known for? Being the corporate headquarters capital of the world, of banking. So he's been on the side of banks for a really long time when it comes to loans.
And not just pushing student loans, but making sure students can't get out of student loans. He's passed bills blocking students from seeking bankruptcy protection, made it harder as recently as 2005 to discharge these.
So as a senator, he was all in for the interests of his state, which is blocking students from getting out of student loans.
Getting you in, not getting you out.
Not letting you,
Wow.
you're locked into this loan. Now that he's president or was a candidate, he needs to cater to younger voters, and as a result, he's been peddling student loan forgiveness.
$160 billion in student loan forgiveness. You point out why, the political reasons. Look at his polling among voters under the age of 30.
Absolutely. I mean, it's dead even in a way that they've counted on basically a 2-to-1 advantage amongst young people, which is eroded. I mean, that means the student loan forgiveness hasn't worked. A lot of kids who did pay their student loans don't like the fact that others don't have to. And one small thing, Biden doesn't care whether this is deemed as constitutional or not, that some of his student loan forgiveness has already been shot down. It may in the future, but it has a political benefit.
Not incidentally, quite importantly, this same time period, if we went through the same history, it's the same time frame that the cost of college has absolutely exploded. You shove loans and the price of college goes up.
By the way, you could have the same information on things like crime. I mean, Joe Biden suddenly now is a criminal justice reform guy and everything. He was lock him up, throw away the key a long time ago, too. So he'll change in any way he needs to.
Take a look at the change in policies when it comes to China. Joe Biden has raised the tariff on EVs coming from China from 25% to 100%.
I mean, candidate Biden slammed Trump for tariffs on China. Said we can't do that. China's not a threat, time and time again. He's quietly, by the way, mostly kept the Trump tariffs on China his entire time. Now he's tripling the rate, quadrupling the rate on EVs.
And why? Same reason as the student loan policy. Take a look at what's going on with him and what he needs in terms of votes. Michigan, of course, he needs the state of Michigan. It's the highest number of people employed in the auto industry.
The EV industry, electric vehicles, is cratering right now. So because it's so expensive to create, no one wants them. So what China's trying to do is flood the market. So he's putting tariffs on them to try to prevent them from bringing in cheap EVs to save these jobs. But the problem is the EVs aren't going anywhere in America either. And again, another problem Joe created, the left created, that he's trying to fix that won't work.
The same thing is going on when it comes to border security. Look, you know the problem, the number of record gotaways when it comes to border security.
Look at this.
Has absolutely exploded. This is from 2021 to 2023.
Mm-hmm. We now have over 1.5 total known gotaways under Biden. And the reason we're talking about this is there's rumor after rumor coming from the White House, Will, that there's an executive action coming on changing amnesty rules. Oh, just as the elections show up.
Look at these poll numbers, 31% now, down from 61%.
Look, this is staggering.
Hispanic
voters.
No, can you guys hear me? No audio. Can you hear me okay, guys? Can you give me a quick thumbs up real fast? Just to make sure that we're all on the same page real fast. Can you hear me, guys? Audio, are we good on the audio? Can you let me know real fast? Yes, okay. So as we're covering a lot of information, a lot of changes that people actually don't know that Joe Biden has kept from Donald Trump, we're going to talk a little bit about stimulus checks. So stimulus checks will be available in the coming days. This is what they're talking about. They're saying the goal is to assist families in various U.S. states by providing economic relief payments to eligible taxpayers. Therefore, all of the low-income residents who were impacted will find this amount useful and will help them become more stable financially so that they can meet all of their basic needs. Following a review of the entire situation, the government issued these checks in May of 2024 that recipients soon might be able to cash them in their banks. And this is what they're talking about, literally just come out today, is that the majority of people have experienced both financial and psychological effects. This crisis has significantly affected the locals, preventing them from maintaining their pre-crisis, things that we've all went through, standard of living. They currently require outside assistance to kind of help improve their circumstance. And this is where you and I both understand that there's a lot of things and changes that really need to happen. But cannot hear him talking. Yeah, guys, let me know because they're talking Lacey about $1,200 is kind of where they're at now. But yeah, let's make sure this audio is good. Let's make sure we're good on that. And I want to show you guys this other thing because there's a lot of discussion like RFK. Well, if you win, what are you going to do with the border? What are you going to do with inflation? What are you going to do with the climate? But here's some other.
Argentina's President Javier Milei continuing to stun his critics. The world's first libertarian leader already producing an economy that has outperformed expectations. The country's monthly inflation rate, which was among the highest in the world, was down to under 9% in April. That's down from 25% when he first took office in December. Here with what this means for us in the U.S. and our Wallace Heritage Foundation fellow economist, E.J. Antoni. He joins us now. E.J., this is such a fascinating topic. First of all, it's kind of a miracle. The drop in the inflation rate is astounding just from December. This is also a story about money printing. So I want to get to let's start with the lessons. What are the lessons for the U.S.? And then we can talk about money printing, which we're doing a lot of.
Certainly, Rachel. Well, money printing would be one of the lessons for the United States. Look, the problem here is, and frankly, everywhere, it is government spending. When the government spends too much money and runs these massive deficits with no way to pay for them, the central bank always steps in to print the money to finance it all. And that's where we get inflation. It's true here. It's true in Argentina. It's been true in every country throughout the world that has suffered these massive bouts of inflation.
Yeah, it's just so weird. It's like easy to look at what Argentina went through. And why would we want to go down that route? And we're doing it at a much greater rate, right?
Oh, man.
Oh, Rachel, you're spot on. That's exactly correct. But see, this is where I think the American people should actually have some hope, because as bad as inflation is here in the United States and as slow as economic growth is here, things were much worse in Argentina. And yet a president was able to turn it around in record time.
Yeah.
You know, we have presidents who talk about balancing the budget over the course of 10 years or 20 years. He did it in a matter of weeks and brought inflation down from triple digits to single digits.
Yeah. So they're printing the money because they're spending too much money. So obviously he must have cut programs. So I want to hear about that part of it, because, you know, we look at our budget, and the reason why politicians don't want to cut the spending is because every bit of spending has some constituency they don't want to tick off. So what happened with Milei? What did he cut, and what has been the reaction of the Argentine people with those cuts in the budget?
Well, the Argentine people have actually been very happy with what he has done, because inflation was creating so much pain that it was much worse than any of the goodies that the government there was able to hand out to the people. So he has slashed a lot of departments from the government. I don't just mean he has slashed those departments' budgets. I mean, he is eliminating things whole cloth, because a lot of these agencies are doing nothing but making trouble for the people. He's getting rid of regulators. And by the way, regulation is a big part of this story.
Yes, it is.
As well, Rachel, because what he is doing by getting rid of regulation is allowing the free market to bring more goods and services to the Argentinian people, especially housing. That's another lesson we could take away here in the United States. By increasing the supply of housing, it is helping to keep down prices. That's something we desperately need here. Oh,
that is such a great point. So printing, the lessons for us are: don't print money, cut your government spending so you don't have to print money. The third one was increase housing supply so people can afford to live and bring the costs of housing down, and deregulating. It seems like under the Trump administration, they did a lot of deregulation, but a lot of.
Hey guys, I want to show you this real fast because I'm sure many of you guys are aware of it, but there's a lot of talk going about the new upcoming thing that literally just happened. Guys, check this out because this is some big news.
In news across the globe, a helicopter carrying Iranian president and other officials apparently crashed after bad weather in the mountainous region of Iran, sparking a massive rescue operation. NBC's Josh Lemon reports from London.
A massive search and rescue operation is now underway for Iranian President Raisi and his entourage, including the foreign minister. They had been returning from a site near the Azerbaijan border where the president was inaugurating a new joint dam with Azerbaijan, when apparently they hit extremely bad weather, very dense fog, and their helicopter went down in what state media is calling a hard landing, some other reports calling it a crash. And now, at this point, we don't know the status of the Iranian president or those who are traveling with him. We know that, according to rescuers, they have been very difficult conditions that have made it hard to access the site where that helicopter went down. They are trying now by land, since they have been unable to fly helicopters to the site, given the fog and weather conditions there. But we've heard from Iran's supreme leader, who's really the ultimate decision maker in Iran, telling people to pray for the well-being of the president and the foreign minister. But he says no matter what, there will be no disruption in the services, in the functioning of Iran. The leaders of Iran right now trying to make sure people stay calm as we await news about the fate of Iranian President Raisi. Josh Letterman.
And guys, again, that is the most updated news. We're going to keep you guys updated. Joe's got some big news for you guys coming tomorrow. So again, guys, it really just depends on whoever's going to come and convince everybody that they're going to bring American people out of poverty. When it all boils down to this, people are in poverty, losing their homes, being evicted, put out in the streets. Families not able to keep up. The last thing you ever want to do is have a difficult time trying to take care of your family. So in the presidential election, people have seen what it was under Trump, and they see now what it's under Biden, and there's really no comparison. For 127 votes, people said that if we had to vote right now, 78% is Donald Trump, 9% is RFK Jr., 13% Joe Biden. That is shocking to me to see Joe Biden. I figured that with people wanting somebody new, Donald Trump's kind of taking this by storm, but RFK Jr., I honestly, he has a lot of good intentions, a lot of good things. His family's been in it. They did great. So I don't know, guys, but definitely thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to our family, guys, if you haven't already. And we'll make sure to keep you guys updated on this news. Again, thank you for joining me. We did it super early tonight to get you guys out of here a little bit early, but we love you, appreciate you. Thank you so much for your love and support. And guys, we'll see you in the next one.